So guys, what if neglected Naruto has a crush on Fem Kyuubi special movie? He wore an orange jumpsuit and covering his forehead was a protector with the village hidden in the leaves symbol carved into it. His spiky blonde hair covered his back and his face with signs of fighting. He was Naruto Uzumaki. He was still a lot like his younger self. However, he was more clever and not a child anymore. His foxy grin and birthmarks were still a part of him. He had been placed in charge of hunting and bringing back Sasuke. For that he was grateful for. He no longer had a crush on Sakura, but saw her as a sister. Sure, the thought, but he was used to it and would later fix the problem. Also, he still had not told anybody of the Kyuubi. That was for another day. It was the same good day for Naruto. He had returned from a mission from the Flame Village. He was able to save a very pretty girl from certain doom. She had been nearly raped by a few sound ninjas and he was able to save her just in time. The best part was the fact that Naruto had gotten a kiss from the lady. He shook his head to clear the thoughts that were coming. Damn, he thought I am acting like pervy sage does. With that he pulled out his orange book titled, yep, you guessed it, Make Out Paradise. He had been reading it for a while and he found that it had a good storyline to it. He found his way to the training grounds. It was late in the night and no groups were out. He made his way to the gates and gave the guards a tilt of his head in recognition. He made his way under the starry sky. Looking up he thought, will I ever find peace? His thoughts continued to his past, present, and if possible a future. He let out a depressed sigh knowing the answer. He would never find peace or a happy future. He was to be forever alone. He was a monster. At last he came to the training grounds. He had not been here in a very long time. This spot brought back memories of joy and pain. In some ways he was glad to be back in this spot. Kit, stop your thinking and get on with your training. If you think I will lend you more power, then you are sadly mistaken. Naruto rolled his eyes at the demon. Ever since the kiss, the Kyuubi was talking to him daily. Oh, please. Stop thinking about that slut and her kiss. The demon growled at the ninja. She was not a slut, Kyuubi. She was glad that she was not raped. Naruto growled at the fox. He could feel the Kyuubi roll his eyes at Naruto. She had the sense of many other men. Most were not from the sound ninjas. All had the scent of lust. Naruto frowned at this and he accepted defeat from the wise demon. Well, is it not my old teammate? Came a voice in the shadows. Naruto pulled out a kunai and took a defense position. Out of the shadows came the pale face of Sasuke. What are you doing here, Sasuke? Naruto was ready for the traitor. He was going to bring back the Uchiha. Naruto growled at his ex-friend. Sasuke merely remained still. Naruto attacked first. He created several shadow clones and launched his attack. Sasuke countered by sending out several fireballs at the young Junin. The battle continued until it was nearly dawn. Each opponent had made serious wounds on the other. Damn, I am almost out of chakra and we are to even. Naruto thought to himself. In this moment he came up with an idea to stall for time. Hey, Sasuke, I am going to bring you back today. Give up Dobi. I am stronger. Sasuke let out a sneer. His face contorted with the evil that influenced him. Sasuke. What have you done? Naruto stared at his old friend. I see now. I see that you have truly lost yourself to your lust for power. Naruto whispered. Something inside Sasuke snapped and he drew his sword. In one move he drove it through Naruto's stomach and into the seal. Naruto slumped to the ground in a pool of blood. Sasuke let a single tear slip before he turned and left his friend to die. Naruto coughed up some blood as he felt his life slip. So this is what it's like to die. He watched a flash of orange light. Thinking it was only a dying thing, he shut his eyes. Before the darkness took him, he heard a woman cry out his name. Pain. That was all Naruto felt. It was a numb pain. He felt it, but it would not kill him. How do I always seem to get myself into these type of messes beyond me? He thought as a wave of pain shot through his body. He felt like he was going to die. Wait. Why, am I not dead? He thought to himself. And Naruto? Called a woman's voice. He knew that voice from somewhere. Then it hit him. It was the voice that called out his name before he blacked out. Slowly, the Junin opened his eyes. Oh. God. This was the first thought that came when he opened his eyes. There was a woman. No, a goddess. She had a perfect-sized breasts, long flowing red hair, curves in all the right places, and she was naked. Naruto's mind had gone bye-bye. He was amazed at her body. Naruto, are you okay? She asked, embarrassed that he was looking at her breasts. That snapped him out of his daze. Her voice was soft and warm. I am okay. He was still looking at her breasts. Naruto. 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 Stop looking at my breasts. She bellowed at the ninja while she covered herself with her hands. He shot quickly to his feet. Who are you and how do you know my name? Don't you recognize me? Well, then again you only saw my demon form. She sighed as she sat down. What are you talking about? Naruto was in a daze. I am the Kyuubi. She answered with no emotion. Naruto then made the second biggest mistake of his life. Ha, ha. He had laughed at her. You think I am lying, Kit? She bellowed. There was only one person who called him Kit. That person was the Kyuubi. KK Kyuubi. You're a chick? He asked the redhead. He leaned in to analyze her. A slight blush came up on her face. Then, her face grew angry. Of course I am a female, she shouted back at the blonde. Naruto then made the biggest mistake of his life. Sorry to all females for this next part. Well, it makes sense. Everything makes sense. Everything. Even why you would attack the village. You must have been going through your time of the month. That makes sense now. Her face grew red from the anger and embarrassment. Her hand drew into a fist and in one swift move, slammed her fist into Naruto's head. His face sank into the ground. She hits harder than Sakura, he thought before he passed out. She lifted him by his jacket and started to yell at the unconscious blonde. How dare you say that to me? Kyuubi screeched at the down for the count ninja. She took deep heavy breaths to calm herself. She let out a long sigh. Naruto. Naruto, are you okay? He only let out a groan. Guess I should take you home, Kit. She lifted Naruto onto her shoulder and shot out into the night. Pain. It was the same pain. It was the numb pain. Why did it always suck? He could remember something happened at the training ground. What was it? Sasuke, Kyuubi, and being steam-rolled into the ground by the angry demon. What was it? Oh yeah, it was seeing a very pretty naked lady. The pain was worth it. He sat up and let out a groan from the pain in his head and stomach. Where was he? He was in his apartment. Slowly he made his way out of bed and down the hall. How did I get back here? He thought as he went into his living room. He looked around and saw a woman laying on the couch. It was the Kyuubi. She was covered by a blanket and seemed to be sleeping heavily. He stood over her and watched as her chest rose and fell. He reached out a hand and stroked away a loose strand of hair. You do know that it is rude to stare. She opened an eye and let a smile form as Naruto's face reddened with embarrassment. You have better have some answers, Kyuubi. He shot back at the demon. Okay, kid, I do need to fill you in. Kyuubi sighed out before she continued. As you know, I am the Kyuubi. I am a nine-tailed demon, meaning I am the highest in the demon class. Naruto nodded at the explanation. Okay, I guess that makes some sense. However, you were always a hedgehog thing when I saw you. Care to explain? Kit, what you saw was my true demon form. A what? Was Naruto's clever response. Well, Kit, I have 4 forms. The first is this one, or full human form. I have little Chakura in this form. My second shows more demon features. My third is a small fox with 9 tails. My last and strongest is my true form. This only happens when I am emotional or physically in danger or when protecting a mate. Naruto seemed to think about this until he thought of another question. It had been bugging him for a long time and he had to know. Kyuubi, why do you call me Kit? She sat up with the blanket covering her. She thought only for a minute before she came to a conclusion. I call you it because you are younger than me. Naruto snorted. You hardly look any older than me. She smirked at his playfulness. She liked that in a male. I am 800 years old and still kicking. Naruto looked her over. Bullshit. She had to be telling him bullshit. Right? She didn't even have a wrinkle. Impossible. You're lying, Kyuubi. Her face grew red with anger. Kit. I do not lie. I am Kyuubi. Naruto shot across the room in fear of the mad female. When she calmed down, she explained calmly as possible. Demons do not age like humans. Naruto made his way next to her and sat down. Sorry. I just thought it was some type of bullshit you were trying to pull over me. I save your ass and you thank me by telling me I lie. Some gratitude. She stuck her nose the other way and pouted. She was playing hard to get. He liked that. He had gotten some of the fox's natural lust. Damn this woman. He pouted at her. She would ignore him. Which she did. Perfect. Then he did his secret weapon. The cute puppy eyes. She looked at him. Then, she reached out and petted his head. Cold bitch. Fine, be a party pooper. He pouted again and faced the other way. 2 could play this game. Ah, come on Naruto, don't be such a drama queen. She smirked as he continued to ignore her. Fine, then she could play dirty. Fine, take this. With that she launched herself at him. Naruto's face became shocked as she tickled him. He laughed and rolled on the ground with her. Surrender, Naruto, she called to her ex-container. He pushed himself up and tackled her. Never. Kakashi Pav, I was on my way to see how Naruto was doing. I worry about him. He is so obsessed about Sasuke that it scares me. He went to train. The guards did see him leave to go to the training grounds. However, when I arrived there he was not there. So logically he has to be at his apartment. I walked slowly through the streets of the city of Konoha. I decided along the way to check if he was at that ramen shop he likes so much. Nope, not there. Odd. Normally he is eating away like a man who has not eaten for several days. Oh well. No time to think on things that are useless. I decide to save time so I can finish my prized makeout tactics. With all the missions I never really get much time to read anymore. I form the hand signs and appear before Naruto's apartment complex. I make my way up the steps and turn the corner. I find Naruto's door and before I can knock I hear loud laughing. I put my covered ear to the door and listen. Yup, there is Naruto in there. However, there is a different voice. A girl in Naruto's bedroom. I quickly pull back my head and do the math. A girl, plus Naruto, plus alone in a bedroom. What does that equal? I walk away shaking my head with a frown. Damn kids. Naruto lay next to the redhead on the floor. He was breathing deeply and found that he had not had this much fun in a long time. Their tickle war ended in a tie. Kyuubi was a tough fighter. He looked to his right to see her breathing heavily. She was still naked. He watched her for a long time. She must have noticed because she shot him a glare that could kill. Shit. He struggled to get up and let out a groan from the pain his stomach. He looked down to see, to his amazement, not a single scratch. Kyuubi took note of this. My saliva. It has healing powers. With that she laid back down to catch her breath. Wait. You licked my stomach. And you call me a perv? Naruto shot back at the vixen. Well, I can't give you Shikara because I'm out here. And I am no pervert. I lived in you. I know what you think. That includes your dreams. She smirked at the shocked face of her ex-container. His shock turned into a frown. Wait here. He lifted himself with some effort and disappeared. She took this small amount of time to look around his apartment. It was a small but comfortable dwelling. It was messy as hell but, with a woman's touch that could change. Here, take this and cover yourself. She shot her head up to see Naruto with an orange jacket and some black jeans. She reached up and took them. He turned around to give her privacy while she put them on. It somewhat hurt her. Like a scare on her heart. Kakashi Pav, life sucks. I let out a sigh. I am a dead man for sure. The Hokage wanted me to report on Naruto at noon. I can see that she has a mother-son relationship with my student. Now how am I going to tell her, a woman like his mother? I heard Naruto and a girl, alone in his room, making funny sounds behind his locked door. If I don't tell her and she finds out I will never see the light of day. If I do tell her Naruto is a dead man. Well, let's see, it is either him or me. Sorry, Naruto. I have to finish my cum-cum tactics. I arrive at Tsunade's office 30 minutes late. Well, here goes nothing. I give my usual yo. Where the hell have you been, Kakashi? Wait, let me guess, you were reading that trashy book. I guess I woke her up. Damn, she has lungs. Most likely explains how large her bray is. Kakashi, tell me where Naruto is or I will ban your damn book. My one visible eye went wide. No, she can't, please, anything but my cum-cum tactics. Okay, Naruto is at his apartment. He is fine, but well, here it goes. I heard something odd. She raises an eyebrow. What did you hear? I tell her. What? I am going to kill him. She shoots out the door. Well, I hope you had a good life, Naruto. Please, Kyuubi? No, Naruto. Please. Naruto used his big, blue eyes in hopes to win her over. Fine, only once. Kyuubi in her new clothes walked into the middle of the room. She stayed still for a moment. Red chakra flowed through her. Slowly 9 tails sprouted out of her lower back, just above her butt. 2 fox ears now replaced her ears. Naruto jumped up and down at her new appearance. Wow, you are so cool. I wish I could do that. She blushed at the comments. Then, to her horror, an image flashed in her head. It was a red haze. In it there were 2 people. Both were rolling around and their passionate moaning filled the area of her head. She shook her head. No, I can't think that. If he knew how I really felt, he would leave me in an instant. She looked over to Naruto, who was still complimenting her. The door flew open at that moment, followed by the booming voice. Naruto Uzumaki, you're dead. Kyuubi had never really been scared in all her life. Very few things ever did that. The demon had only painful memories. Stones, curses, and hatred. That changed one night. Several ninjas had made the mistake on trying to force themselves on her. They fell first. Soon more and more ninjas appeared. Then he came. He was the man on the boss toad. It was because of him she would spend the last 18 years waking up in a sewer and cage from which there was no escape. The only other incident was that had ever really scared her was when Naruto and that Sasuke fought. Her container was but a hair from death. So in a sense she was too. From that a new thought came to. What was she more afraid of? Was she afraid for herself or her container? She had pondered this for some time, and now here she was. The Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village yelling at the man she had acted like a fool around. She kept going on about pregnant women and not paying a dime for the baby. It was unlike her, the great Kyuubi. She was cold and cruel. However, every time she was around him she felt safe and warm. But Granny, Naruto pleaded for his life. I didn't do anything. Only to get hit on the head. Don't call me a granny. Tsunade's rage grew larger and Naruto's grave a few feet deeper. I will not take care of your baby. Kyuubi stood still. Her tails and fox ears were still out. Her red, fiery hair washed over her like a sea. Pulling her borrowed orange and black jacket closer, she held her breath. If this woman saw her, then Kyuubi would have a huge problem on her hands. Naruto had the same idea on his mind and motioned for her to go to the window by motioning his head to it. Slowly, she made her way to the window and freedom. Luckily, Tsunade was too busy dealing with Naruto to notice her. Only a few more steps to freedom, Kyuubi thought. However, she felt a tug in her heart. Looking back, she saw that Tsunade's fury and Naruto's torture had just reached its climax. Naruto's eyes darted back and forth between Tsunade and her. He mouthed out, "Go now, quickly." She smiled a thanks for everything and prepared to climb into the open window. She would have succeeded except for the sudden puff of smoke and the silver-haired Junin crouching in the window. I thought so, Kakashi said as he reviled his Sharingan, SP. I knew your Chikara from when you attacked the village and from when you released your power in mist. You really think you can stop me? Kyuubi slyly replied. She had a beautiful plan to escape without having to waste any power. And finally, where is this woman? Tsunade was in her right mind to strangle a woman who would sleep with Naruto. She had always cared for him. He was a brat at times, but he was like a son. If Dan and I had ever had a son, he would be like you, Naruto. It was a common thought that plagued her mind. He was also so much like her dearly departed younger brother. Tsunade noticed a shape by the window. She caught her breath. Damn, I see why Naruto would like her. The woman had it all. A great body, long legs, a pretty face, fox ears and tails to match. Wait, fox ears? Kakashi. She had to warn him. Kakashi, Kyuubi whispered seductively as possible. I wonder what's under that mask of yours. Slowly she leaned forward and tilted her head sideways. Placing a hand on his vest, she leaned in. Naruto couldn't believe what he was seeing. He gave her the perfect chance to escape. He let Tsunade hit him on the head for her. Why the hell am I doing this in the first place? It was weird. There was almost a pull that wanted him to go to her. To explore her. To make love. Great, Naruto thought to himself, I am turning into pervy sage. His sweat dropped at the thought of him with white hair, with a telescope peeking, and gathering research for the next book. Now she was going to kiss his teacher. The amazing thing about karma is that it sucked. Kakashi was doing spins. The hell am I thinking? She's a demon. This went against everything. His village, his opinions, and his training. However, this was just like page 239 of his favorite little, orange book. That and the fact that the Kyuubi was hot. So, this could prove interesting. Just as Kakashi's and Kyuubi's lips were about to meet, an evil grin crossed her face. In a quick shove she sent the Junin out the window and clear into the building across the street. Kyuubi now took this chance and was out the window, landed on a building, and was speeding toward the gates of the village. Naruto and Tsunade were amazed at the strength that the Kyuubi had just shown. I can't let the demon escape. This was the only thought on Tsunade's mind. Kakashi struggled to pull himself out of the rubble. That hurt. He looked to his right to see a very startled family in the middle of lunch staring at him with wide eyes. Rubbing the back of his head, he apologized and took off after the women. How did this? In Konoha, the sound of female laughter echoed through every alley, street, and home. The laughter sounded like a silver bell. Whoever was laughing seemed to be having the best day of her life. Said female was none other than Kyuubi. That was hilarious. She could still see Kakashi's face. It was priceless. Well, his face would have been priceless without his mask. She bet that not even the great Kakashi could see that coming. With or without his Sharingan. Kakashi was in hot pursuit of the demon. She had tricked him. He couldn't let her get away. However, why didn't she turn into the giant fox like before? Now that was a good question. She could have killed him or Naruto easily. Yet, she didn't. Either way, if she got away, who knows the damage she could do. Was it that she had spent so much time in his former student? Her eyes did not hold that bloodlust like he had seen before. They were soft like Naruto's. Sai and he both agreed to that Naruto was not only a mirror image of his father, but that he had his father's and mother's heart. He could be shy, bold, brave, and gentle instantly. He felt sorry for Naruto for all the pain that had been done to him. He should be a hero, not treated like some monster. Now here he was chasing after the creature that had destroyed most of Konoha all those years ago. He knew that this time death was almost certain. He could really use some help. Guy and his old team were out on a mission and would not be back until later that night. Anko, who had trained under Orochimaru, SP, was in grass on a mission to locate an old hideout that sound may be gathering forces. She was not due back for 3 days. Kurani took her old team also, to an outpost in the south. It would take her a week to get back. Sakura may be a great medic nin, but to have her try to fight someone like the Kyuubi was suicide. Sai was in Cloud trying to convince a lord not to ally with Sound. However, things did not look good. Who knows when he would get back. Kyuubi hopped from building to building. She stopped suddenly. There within eyesight she could see the gates. However, it was not the sight of the doors that had stopped her. It was the Chikara of the silver-haired Junin. So you caught up? Kyuubi raised an eyebrow. The human caught up with her. This was impressive. Kakashi's Sharingan spun as if angered. I know this village well enough to know a few shortcuts. Well, shortcuts won't be enough to stop me. Kyuubi turned her head. She was so close to freedom. She sighed and took a step toward the gate. Stop, demon. Kakashi yelled as he made 2 shadow clones. I will not let you escape even should it cost my life. Kyuubi just gave a foxy smile. However, the smile turned wicked. Ha! Fool, I am the great Kyuubi. Kyuubi flexed her hand revealing her claws. Prepare to die. A little known secret about those claws was just how deadly they could be. Though they looked human, they were secretly tools of death. They were able to tear through the toughest of objects. Now these natural killers had one target. Kyuubi formed felt her power flow her. Around her the red demonic power covered her like a suit of armor. There was only a catch. This armor was in fact her power and could deflect almost any attack. In a one swift motion she twisted around and shot out a punch. She was far too far to hit Kakashi. However, from the suit of red Chikara came a fist. Connecting the fist to the suit was a line of Chikara that acted almost like Kyuubi's arm. The fist was the size of her own fist. This itself was very small for she was a woman. However, as it closed the gap between the demon and the 3 Kakashis, it grew to the size of a piano. The 3 Kakashis' eyes went wide as they desperately leapt away from the giant fist in 3 separate directions. The one on the left jumped left and stood sideways on the wall in a defensive position. The one on the right shot into a nearby tree, and the middle one jumped high into the air. They would have evaded it had it not suddenly changed course and fixated on the Kakashi to the left. Before the Kakashi could move, the fist slammed into him. The entire building shook as the wall itself gave way and crumbled. Amazingly, the other 2 remaining Kakashis disappeared in a puff of smoke at the same time the fist connected with the Kakashi on the left. The fist dissipated and Kyuubi watched intently. Slowly, she closed her eyes and waited in complete silence. The attack had connected, so what was she waiting for? Suddenly, her eyes snapped open and she took to the sky. Emerging from the smoke and wall was Kakashi's arm extended with his Chidori. His Junin jacket was torn and appeared to have burn marks. This was from the Kyuubi's Shikara. Her Shikara was so strong that it could disintegrate almost anything. His attack came just underneath Kyuubi. Had she waited a moment later, she would have met a gruesome end. Kakashi continued his attack and slid to a stop. However, Kyuubi didn't let him rest. She shot down from the sky like a bird of prey and went in for the kill. Kakashi, even with his skill, barely managed to evade the attack. In a swift twist of his body, he evaded the attack. However, Kyuubi's claws cut through his Junin jacket like a hot knife through butter. It torn clean through and managed to score 5 deep lashes on the Junin. Kakashi continued his twist to a tree on the right. Quickly forming another Chidori, he launched himself at her. Had she landed hard, he would have scored a hit. However, when she landed, she displayed a skill that was inhuman. Landing softly from the height of 3 stories to be correct. In another swift move, she turned her body as Kakashi lunged forward. Raising her elbow, Kakashi rammed into it, causing his feet to come out from under him. As he flew up, Kyuubi caught his right foot with her right hand, spun him around, and released him. He sailed back to the tree and crashed through it. Kyuubi jumped up onto the building and watched as Kakashi struggled to get back up. Kakashi slowly stood up and looked up. High above him, Kyuubi, in Naruto's clothes and covered in her red Shikara, stood victoriously on the ruined building. "Tell me how you knew which of the 3 clones was the real me and how you knew I was coming." Kakashi called out to the demon. He was wounded badly. Not even the Sharingan was helping. He used his left arm and hand to cover the wound that she had inflicted. Kyuubi smiled. The problem with a shadow clone is that it leaves no scent. It's only Shikara. Everyone has his or her own scent. The other 2 didn't have your scent. Kyuubi's tails wiggled around amused. As for the Chidori, I heard the sound of it as soon as you formed it. Anybody could hear it coming. To say Kakashi was surprised would be an understatement. He was way out of his league. The one time I need guy, he just had to be on a mission. Oh, don't act so surprised, Kakashi. Kyuubi wanted to drive another nail in Kakashi's coffin. You are not fighting a human. You are fighting a demon. I have the best abilities and senses of any creature. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. She was toying with him. This was bad. He needed help now. Where the hell is Tsunade? The woman in question was being followed by Naruto. Hold on, Kakashi. I am on my way, she whispered. She couldn't call herself a Hokage if she couldn't protect those who severed her. Naruto caught up to her and he was doing his best to explain what events had led to this moment. I think that when Sasuke stabbed me, he weakened my seal enough for Kyuubi to break out, Naruto said as he and Tsunade hopped from house to house. Sasuke came here? Tsunade asked. She was surprised that the traitor had come back to assassinate Naruto. What surprised her the most was that he didn't finish Naruto. There may still be some humanity left inside him. It must be hard to kill a friend who was more like a brother. The 2 landed across the street from where the epic battle was taking place. Sasuke let out Kyuubi. This is bad. She couldn't watch as Kakashi died. Kyuubi. I challenge you to a duel. Tsunade called from her position. She was risking a lot here. Her life, village, and the innocent people were all in danger. Kyuubi looked between Kakashi and Tsunade. She could kill either one. However, Kakashi was in no condition to continue this fight. That would be boring. All right, Hokage. You want to fight? You got one. Kyuubi called back. Naruto, Tsunade whispered, get Kakashi to safety. Naruto nodded and jumped to Kakashi. Kyuubi didn't even so much as give him a sideways glance. Kakashi supported himself by using Naruto's shoulder as a brace. He looked between Tsunade and the demon fox. There has to be a way to beat her, Kakashi thought. However, with her inhuman senses it was impossible to get to her. Oh, and Kakashi, Kyuubi said. You should put that Sharingan away. You used too much Shikara on it. It didn't really work now, did it? Kakashi swore as he placed his headband back over his Sharingan. He was beat without his opponent using a single jutsu, SP? You should pay attention to your fight. Tsunade launched herself down from her position ready to deliver a monstrous punch. However, with her sense, Kyuubi managed to dodge to the right. Please stop this fighting. She didn't hurt anyone. Naruto called out as the Hokage and demon escalated the fight. Kyuubi spared a glance at the handsome blonde. She felt her heart beat a little faster. He wants to protect me. Kakashi looked at his student as if he had grown a second head. Naruto. Now is not the time. Think of all those people she killed 18 years ago. Naruto may have a soft side, but to support a demon was like being a traitor. Tsunade's fist hit the ground, causing the ground to uproot, sending pieces of the earth toward Kakashi and Naruto. Naruto acted quick and shoved the wounded Kakashi away as the rocks overtook him. As he was pummeled by the furious assault of rocks, a boulder-seized rock struck him in the head. Why does this happen to me? This last thought before the darkness took hold. Kakashi looked on helplessly as Naruto was buried alive. However, what he needed to do was help the Hokage in any way possible. Tsunade jumped back. She had scored a few hits on the demon, but it wouldn't stay down. What was worse was the Chikara around the demon. It was burning away the skin on her fist. She readied herself for one last attack. This was it. Double or nothing. Gathering almost all her Chikara, she launched herself at Kyuubi. Kyuubi, however, saw this and launched herself at the Hokage. Lol catfight. The two women let out a right punch. The two fists connected. The impact caused a sonic boom that shattered all the windows within the entire block. The human and demon both were thrown back and landed on their feet. Kyuubi smiled as if this was the greatest day of her life. Tsunade, on the other hand, held her right arm with her left. Her right arm was shattered. She could heal her arm, but it would take some time. Time was not on her side. You didn't honestly think you could beat me with that attack? Kyuubi smirked. She won this battle and her freedom. Kyuubi made her way towards the gates. She was home free now. Tsunade took a step forward only to collapse to her feet. She had wasted a lot of Chikara and blood. Kakashi watched as the Kyuubi no Kitsune made her way through the battlefield whistling. Kakashi had to stop her. He suddenly had an idea. It might just work. There was a chink in her armor after all. Kyuubi was whistling to pass the time. Nobody could stop her now. However, as she made her way to the gates, a horrible high-pitched sound screeched through the air. The noise was so incredible that it forced her to the ground, covering her ears. After the sound stopped, she looked where she believed the sound came from. Kakashi. I see. Kakashi smirked. I found your weakness. I have no weakness, fool. Need I remind you that I am a demon? Kyuubi was sure that there was no weakness. She had spent the last 900 years without ever suffering a single deadly wound. How could there be a weakness? You were right about your senses. They are too powerful for me to fight you one-on-one. Kakashi called out to his opponent. However, your senses are your weakness. Kakashi revealed a small silver whistle. This whistle was a gift from my teacher. It's used to fight summoned animals. It makes a sound too high for human ears. However, to an animal it is pure torture on their ears. Kyuubi felt a fury like no other. Though he could beat her, she would make him pay. I'll tear out your throat, she cried out as she prepared to take Kakashi's head from his shoulders. Kakashi moved faster and blew into the whistle. Kyuubi was bombarded by the sound and grabbed her head to stop the furious sound. Tsunade. Now, Kakashi called. Kyuubi had let down the armor of Chikara and was distracted by the pain. Tsunade wasted no time and launched herself into the air. Letting go of her arm, Tsunade's left hand turned into a fist. It's now or never. Using everything she had, her fist slammed into Kyuubi's right cheek. Kyuubi slammed into the building. The force of the impact caused the entire building to collapse. As the smoke of the collapsed building cleared, the hand of Kyuubi could be seen. Tsunade made her way over the rubble. In a swift move, Tsunade pulled the unconscious demon up. She could end this here and now. However, something told her not to. It was wrong to kill a person who was helpless. Demon or not. Suddenly, a group of Anbu arrived in a large plume of smoke. Lady Tsunade, we arrived as soon as we could, said a captain with a cat mask on. Behind him the Anbu bowed respectfully. Each wore a mask. From left to right the order was an Anbu with a boar mask, one with a horse most, another with a rat mask, and finally the last with a fish mask. Take Kakashi and Naruto to the hospital. Tsunade ordered to the masked ninja. She was not pleased that they took so long. What of the one you have? The captain asked in all respect. Tsunade looked down at Kyuubi. Her ears and tails were gone. I have a few questions. Take her to the Anbu prison complex. She should be considered a S-classed criminal and this mission is to be S-classed. The last thing Tsunade needed was a panic on her hands. The ruined building was going to bite her back. Of that she was sure of. She carefully placed the human-looking demon in hands of the Anbu. Captain. Tsunade warned, get every Anbu to guard her. Understood. The captain nodded and disappeared. Two of his men were gathering Kakashi and Naruto and were in the process of getting them to the hospital. Tsunade looked into the sky. The winds of change were blowing. How they would change the world? She herself was not certain. Naruto didn't know where he was. All he did know was he was surrounded with a bright, white light. Great. I am dead. Naruto was pissed. He let his guard down. However, that damn beeping sound was pissing him off more. Wait. Heaven is supposed to be all nice and stuff. So that means, I am in hell. He shot up, but as he looked around the stark white room he was forced back down by the most incredible headache ever. Damn, where am I? Good to see that you are alive and well, Naruto. Came an all too familiar voice. Naruto looked over to his right to see his former teacher in the bed beside him reading a small, orange book. Oh, Kakashi, how are you doing? Naruto asked. He missed his former teacher. After they went their own ways did things get out of hand. And he rarely ever saw Kakashi, and when he does get that rare chance things have a nasty way of ending horribly. Oh, I am good. Kakashi said with a wave of his hand. The painkillers in Make Out Paradise are helping. Naruto laid back into the bed. Moaning, he rubbed his bandaged head and closed his eyes. I wonder if Kyuubi got away? Kyuubi weakly opened her eyes. They instantly focused on the room she was in. It was more of a ballroom than a real room. Though it was darker than any ballroom and yet was not damp like a cave. Kyuubi tried to move. However, she found herself unable to do so. Looking down she saw a Chakra-absorbing rock. Chakra-absorbing rock was special. Most likely captured from the rock village during the last Great War. Its name gives away what it does. In a sense it drains the Chakra from a person. Not only that, it makes it impossible to use Chakra. And to top it off, layers upon layers of Chakra draining chains. Though these would be able to hold most ninjas, she couldn't be held down by these human instruments. However, there was that damned noise. The sound that shook her down to the very marrow of her bones. The sound of that whistle. She would revert her ability of hearing, but the sound of the whistle was non-stop and far too loud for her to concentrate on removing her super hearing. How ironic, came an old voice. The great and mighty Kyuubi, a demon that could destroy mountains with a swing of its tail, now at the mercy of the very village that it tried to destroy so many years ago. Ha! Do not show me mercy. Kyuubi spat out through the pain in her head. For if you do, I will return and crunch off your ugly, old face off and finish annihilating this village. The Council of Konoha. The figureheads that represent the different clans and lords of the area. All of these clans share one thing in common. All wanted Naruto Uzumaki dead. For one reason, the redhead demon that they now had imprisoned. Danzo flinched slightly at the demon's words. He had learned from Sai about how strong the Kyuubi was. From what Sai told, at 4 tails of power the Kyuubi could go toe-to-toe with Orochimaru. However, no, it was free and had all access to all 9 tails. Now that was a disturbing thought. Silence, demon. Danzo snapped back. If it were I would have finished you off by now. It was true. Had he had power the monster would be dead. However, for some unknown reason that bastard Hokage's granddaughter had called a meeting and was keeping the demon in captivity. At least she is careful about handling this abomination. Danzo thought. Tsunade had speakers placed around the room. She had a recording of the sound of the whistle. This made it impossible for the Kyuubi to concentrate and thus kill everyone. Crude and effective. Tsunade cleared her throat to catch everyone's attention. Danzo in particular. Tsunade had always had a hatred of the old man. So when he approached the demon without his root bodyguards it made her more than a little nervous. Danzo, if you have ideas about trying to use the Kyuubi to gain power, I'll have no second thoughts about crushing that fat head of yours into dust. Tsunade thought angrily. The council members made their way to their respected seats, which faced opposite of Kyuubi. Tsunade slowly sat down trying to make sure that she didn't bump anything. Let's face it, Tsunade thought I am getting too old for this. She had a shattered right arm with second-degree burns on her right hand, several deep gashes, 2 broken ribs, and a damn bad headache. All that was missing was the stupid partridge in a pear tree. Kyuubi's eyes flickered with the most utter hatred. She wanted out. She was no bird that was to be locked away in some cage. This is a waste of my time. I have to wonder why that Hokage saved me. She would find out soon enough. Ah, it's good to be out. Naruto said to no one in particular. He was free from the evil hospital with cruel and unusual, beeping heart monitors. He wasn't supposed to be released out of the hospital until after the next week. However, no hospital could hold him. However, the pain in his head increased slightly. Naruto frowned, wondering why it was taking so damn long to heal. Then it hit him, no Kyuubi to heal him. Naruto looked up into the sky and frowned slightly as the clouds seemed to form the shape of a fox. What could he do? Kyuubi's presence here would only be bad to both the ninja and civilians. That and she was being held by Granny in the council. Naruto shook his head and regretted it instantly when his whole world did a spin. He steadied himself on a tree and took several deep breaths. Why should he care if she was killed? She caused him to suffer for a crime he didn't commit. Naruto let out a frustrated sigh and slammed his fist into the tree. He just couldn't make up his mind. He growled out and faced his own glaring weakness. The sun set and Naruto straightened up. He slowly went to the bandages on his head. With a gingerly touch he removed the white bandages and looked up with a look of determination. He knew what he had to do. Kyuubi stared blankly at the cell's gates. It was a sight she had spent these last few years looking at. One prison for another. She thought as the Anbu walked past her. So long as that damn recording played that fucking whistle, she couldn't concentrate on escaping. The council had not surprised her and had ordered that she be killed at sunrise. A private execution on the Hokage mountain. No honor in that death. She growled loudly at that thought. Humans were weak creatures. She hated them, no despised them. However, an image of her former container flashed in her head. A blush spread as a heat ran through her. No, 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 no. He is a human. I am a demon. However, that did not stop her from having a small nap. Maybe it would clear up her head. With that she let out a sigh and gave in to the dreamland's calling. Kneeling, Kyuubi allowed him to move closer and see her womanhood. He smiled sewn at her and licked her. Letting loose a groan that had built up, she felt his tongue guide up and down until he found her clit. It took all she had to control her lustful urges as he switched between her clit and her hole. Whimpering cries soon began to emanate from deep in the young girl's mouth. Her ass was wiggling as he stuck his tongue deep into her pussy. Kyuubi's body shuddered and she felt her orgasms was coming. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to scream, but quickly covered it with her hand. She knew her coming was undeniably apparent. She stifled an orgasmic scream by viciously biting down on her hand. Her body was having spasms as orgasms raced throughout her. She rode the tidal wave of joy for as long as she could. After an eternity, her body shakes began to relax and then she limp. Naruto. She whispered to her golden-haired lover. An explosion suddenly cut her off from her wet dream as she snapped to. Looking down the hall, she could see the Anbu rush the door that entered the complex. There were several more explosions and then a silence. The Anbu soldiers reached into their packs or drew their swords as footsteps could be heard rushing the door. Rasengan. The door exploded with force and the ANBUs were thrown everywhere. Some bounced off the walls while others were thrown backwards. Kyuubi looked weakly as a figure emerged from the dust that had accumulated from the blast, and there, clothed in a Junin vest with his trademark orange and black, open jacket, stood Naruto Uzumaki. Miss me furball? Naruto smirked at the foxy woman. Naruto pumped more and more Shikara into his feet as he held the weakened Kyuubi in his arms bridal style. He had to escape as fast as possible. The farther he got the better. Kyuubi looked up to Naruto. She couldn't read his face and could only conclude that he was worried. She was grateful for him saving him, but he had risked everything on that. Why? I think we'll be safe here, Naruto said as he placed Kyuubi on the ground in a small clearing. He blushed as he said her. Here's a new KK kimono for you, Naruto said as he tossed her a brand new kimono before he turned around to hide the massive blush that had arisen. Kyuubi frowned at his back. She never trusted humans, especially male humans. I thank you for aiding me, she said with the authority of a queen, and thank you for the kimono. She looked down at the things and added that it was a beautiful one. It had a red tone to it with flames at the bottom of the sleeves. She slipped it over her head and felt the silk touch her soft skin. The black bottoms fit perfectly. It was a little too stuffy, however, and with unnatural talent she used her claws to cut a clean tear in order to remove the top of the kimono and make a hole for her tails in the bottoms. The kimono hung loosely from her shoulders and the old seal that was on Naruto's stomach was implanted into her left. Letting loose a sigh, she saw him turn to her. Naruto blushed harder when he saw the fox demon. Her kimono only further added to her unnatural beauty. They sat a while in total silence as Naruto started a small fire. He pulled from his backpack some instant noodles and let it work. Naruto looked deeply into the fire and then sighed deeply. Kyuubi looked toward Naruto across from her. She could see there was a lot of conflict in his eyes. Why? Why would you save me of all people? Kyuubi asked Naruto as he looked at her sadly. Naruto remained silent for a while and then looked up to the starry sky with a smile. I have my reasons, was his simple answer. She stared hard at him as she herself followed his gaze toward the sky. Please, tell me why. I know you wish to be Hokage. Now you are a missing nin. She watched a shooting star fall to earth. It was nights like this that she missed the most. Even though you caused me a lot of pain and tears, Naruto whispered loudly to the air. I couldn't let you be killed. It's against what I stand for. Kyuubi gasped and shot a glance at Naruto's face. He looked at her and gave a warm smile. That night, both of them sleep deeply, dreaming of the future. The two decided after breakfast that they would travel as civilians to avoid the hidden village's ninja. They made their way down the beaten trail towards their destination. So where are we going? Kyuubi asked as she glanced over to the blonde man on her right. He thought for a moment as he recounted his plan. We'll head to the sand village. Gaara will let us stay, Naruto concluded as he pulled out a small orange book from his Junin vest. No sooner than he pulled it out, his face turned red. He giggled as they walked. Kyuubi noticed the quick increase in Naruto's hormones. She looked over at the ninja and could see him holding onto a small orange book. Something bubbled up inside of her and she wanted nothing more than to get that book away from him. Hey Naruto. What's that? The demon asked the Junin innocently. However, Naruto was not fooled by that voice. He had heard Sakura use that voice when she caught him with a copy. She tore it in half, which nearly broke his heart. Until he bought another. Absolutely nothing. He lied nervously to escape her wrath. Women were without a doubt the most complex creature on earth, as a demon or human. She smiled at his actions and leaned in towards him. She always got what she wanted one way or the other. Naruto blushed as she leaned closer and closer to him as she closed her eyes. Gotcha! She yelled as she pulled the book from his hands. Naruto yelped in surprise. It worked on him and Kakashi. Kyuubi read the book with a blush as she held Naruto off with one hand. He swiped continuously to retrieve his beloved book. He had to get it back no matter what. After she read a few pages, the demon closed the book shut with a snap and looked over towards the blonde human. Do you want this back? The demoness asked sarcastically toward Naruto. However, Naruto, not being the sharpest tool in the shed, took her for being serious. He nodded his head enthusiastically as she smirked. She held out his copy with her right and he leaned towards it with stars in his eyes. He reached slowly for it and was so close to his treasure. Then, to his horror, Kyuubi focused her power into her hands and the book was set aflame. She let it fall and laughed as he desperately tried to save his book. It was hilarious to see him crawl around trying to save it. Not that she liked torturing him. Well, a little bit. But, she couldn't help it when he burst into tears to save the perverted novel. Something told her this was going to be fun. Highly important. Because I was away for so long, I have decided to give the people what they want. Their own voice in this story. That's right. You get to tell me what you want to happen. I had planned to make this into a trilogy but decided against it in the end. So ladies and gentlemen, you tell me what you want to see happen and I might just weave it into this tale, and give you credit. Thank you all for being so understanding. Tsunade rubbed her temples to try and remove the ever-building headache. Seriously, how shitty can my day get? Today she had started with a massive hangover. She soon drowned it in sake and found it gave her the buzz she needed to complete all her paperwork. Then, there was the whole Sasuke Uchiha attack and nearly killing Naruto. Bad enough the bastard got away. Let alone enter and exit Konoha by using a secret tunnel built by the Uchiha clan. But hey, at least she had the tunnel destroyed. Oh, and the little detail of the Kyuubi attack and destroying a good part of her village. Peachy. She thought as she overlooked the damaged area from the Hokage tower. She watched the sun set around her village as she slumped into her chair. With a sigh she contemplated today's events. It was no surprise that the council had declared unanimously that the Kyuubi would be executed. They could not control the demon and it was clear that horrid monster had some grudges against Konoha. What did surprise her was the fact that she was able to defeat the nine-tailed fox so easily. Easy my ass. She thought as she looked down at her broken arm. Something told her that there was more going on than she knew. However, she wasn't about to complain. I think I deserve a drink, Tsunade thought as she brought out her secret stash of sake. After pouring herself some, she wheeled the chair around and refaced the window. Today had been one hell of a day. Cheers Jiraiya. Sarutobi. She thought as she threw her head back to down the alcoholic beverage just as the sky turned into night. Her peace, however, was cut off by a sudden series of explosions. What the hell? Tsunade thought as she spat out the sake. She watched in disbelief as the string of explosions tore through Konoha. Shizune, her personal assistant and friend, burst into her office at the same time as her apprentice, Sakura, both looking scared shitless. Lady Tsunade, bombs are going off throughout Konoha. Shizune frantically pointed out as yet another loud explosion sent a geyser of rubble into the night sky. Send all available ninja out there to handle the blaze. Genin will escort the villagers to the bunkers while Anbu and Junin stop the fires from spreading. Once these fires are out, call in every Junin. I want a meeting with all of them to discuss this attack. Tsunade hollered as she slammed her fist into the desk, successfully breaking it into two pieces. Suddenly, an eruption tore through the Hokage building, shaking it to the foundations. The whole building shook with tremendous force, throwing everyone to the ground. The wide windows of the Hokage office shattered around Tsunade, giving her only a few small cuts. She watched as both women disappeared with her orders before she watched wide-eyed as the city was set ablaze and grew a brilliant red hue as it grew dark. Outside she could see little black dots race around trying to stop the flames. Was this a terrorist plot or were they under attack by some unseen enemy? Either way this would be returned 100-fold. There was no way in hell that this was an accident. The next day the fires had been put out. The charred remains littered the city. A dark, gray hue now shadowed the city as the once proud and glorious buildings were nothing but ash. The various villagers and ninjas milled around, some clearing rubble while others sat, stunned at the sudden attack. Tsunade rubbed her head in aggravation. There had been no casualties, luckily, and the only buildings that were damaged or burnt down were either vacant, condemned, or otherwise not in use. However, this only added to her suspicion. Either whoever did this made a huge miscalculation or had been given the wrong information. The Lady Hokage thought as she looked out over her city. She felt a tinge of anger and pain at the sad shape of the village. Her village. Lady Hokage. We have a crisis. Shizune burst into her office looking ever more pale and scared. Tsunade turned towards her assistant and feared that today was far worse than she had first thought. Well, spit it out, she hollered at her longtime companion. Shizune flinched a little. There was no easy way of explaining this. The Kyuubi has escaped, and I did a headcount at the Junin meeting. Naruto is missing. What? The Hokage's scream was heard for miles around. Hey, Kyuubi? I have a few more questions. Naruto poked the female demon as she lazed about under a sakura tree. They had decided to stop and rest after 3 days of straight travel. She herself could go on for years without rest, but decided that the human needed to rest sooner or later. Kyuubi groaned as she opened her crimson eyes to the young blonde. She was tired of all his constant, bothersome questions. All the way for the last 3 days he had asked her every question possible. How many demons were there? How many had she met? How did she get her tails? Did the tails have a mind of their own? She had answered all his questions and was just relaxing when he decided to bug her again. Okay. 3 more questions. But, that is it. Got it? Kyuubi let the threat hang in the air as she sat up. The orange-clad ninja shook his head enthusiastically and quickly pondered what to ask her first. Alright. How did you escape my seal without killing me? The Akatsuki killed Gaara when they pulled out his demon, so why didn't it kill me? Naruto asked her. Great. Now he asks the hard questions. Kyuubi thought as she meekly sighed. Simply put. Your seal was too weak to hold me, the demon answered. My seal? Naruto asked as he laid a hand on the thing. He figured it had to with the thing. When he had first learned about his father and the seal, he hated the man. Hell, he even punched his father's ghost, soul, in the face. But, as he had discovered, he could never wish someone to take the seal. No one deserved to experience the pains that he had gone through because of the thing. This counts as the second question. Kyuubi said irritably. When Naruto didn't answer, she continued. After years and years of abuse, the seal was severely weakened. After you went up to 8 taels of my power, it nearly broke. Till your bastard father showed up. Naruto shot her a dirty look. Sorry, old habits die hard. Kyuubi said as she rubbed the back of her head. Anyways, what finally broke the seal was the sword that used to belong to that snake bastard. Orochimaru's sword? The one Sasuke has now? Naruto asked as he rubbed his chin in thought. Yes, that's the one. Kyuubi replied with a snap of her fingers. That's a special sword. When that Sasuke fellow stabbed you, he pierced your seal and pushed it into overload. This allowed me a small window to escape. Alright, I guess that makes sense. Naruto answered. In truth, however, it was still rather confusing. Unlike his father, seals were never his strong point. One more thing, Kyuubi. Oh? She asked, curious of his final question. The look on his face suggested that this was perhaps his most serious question yet. How come you got beat so easily by Tsunade and Kakashi? Naruto asked her. Kyuubi face faulted. What the hell kind of question is that? The demoness bellowed at the unfortunate Junin. I was just asking. Naruto replied, afraid that the demon before him might evaporate the entire area. She continued to eye him angrily as he shrank under her gaze. With a huff, she pondered how to best explain to the knucklehead ninja. In order for me to escape your seal, I needed to use a lot of power, she started. However, in order for me to completely to exit your body, I had to leave behind most of my power. Naruto slowly nodded his head in understanding. When I fought your Hokage, I had, at most, only 4 taels of power to spare. Fortunately, because humans are so weak, I was able to stand toe-to-toe with her. I would have beaten her too, but that other ninja. Kakashi? Naruto asked, interrupting her. Yes, him. Kyuubi snorted as she crossed her arms with a scowl. With that outside interference, I was just weak enough for them to capture me. Most of my power has yet to return. I have 6 taels right now. Had I stayed at the village, they might have succeeded in killing me. The demon said with a shrug of her shoulders. So where are the rest of your Chikara? Naruto gulped. He had a sinking feeling in his gut. But, he didn't dare want to say it out loud. There was only one place those powers could be, and that was. Yeah. Still inside the seal. In you. Kyuubi said with a predator-like grin. So the demon escaped? Tsunade asked as she surveyed the damage of the Anbu prison complex. The walls were damaged with explosion marks, kunai, swords, broken Anbu masks, and various other things. Yes, Lady Hokage, an outside ally, assisted in its escape. The Anbu captain said. Though his voice was calm and collected, he was sweating behind his mask. To think, one person took on the entire Anbu and waltzed out of a highly secured facility. He shuddered at the thought. He must have been some type of demon, he concluded. You are dismissed, Captain. Tsunade whispered as she gazed at the now empty cell that housed the dreaded Kyuubi. The captain disappeared in a poof of smoke and the room fell silent. The hell is going on? The Hokage thought fiercely. The Kyuubi escapes with the help of an unknown assistant, and now Naruto has vanished into thin air. In her gut, she knew that Naruto's disappearance was tied to the Kyuubi's escape. But how? There is only one possible explanation for this, Tsunade thought. Sakura. Tsunade turned to her apprentice, who was leaning against the stone walls of the Anbu prison. Why yes? Sakura asked nervously. Something in her gut told her that this was bad. Get me Kakashi and Anko. Tsunade said as she and Sakura made their ways down the damaged halls of the prison. Has Team Guy returned yet? Sakura struggled to keep up with her busty master. Sakura shifted through her memory of who had returned. When the attack had began, Tsunade sent all available messenger hawks to any ninja outside of the village. Most of them had rushed back to find their village a burnt mess. Yes, Team Guy returned late last night. Oh, and Team Kurenai is a day away. Other than that, all other teams arrived safe and sound. Sakura replied to her master. Alright, Tsunade said as she came to a sudden halt. Gather up Kakashi, Anko, Guy, Lee, and Shikamaru. Then, when Kurenai's team gets here, get me Hinata and Kiba too. Yes. Right away. Sakura said as she disappeared. Kyuubi, I want something. Naruto spoke grimily. It was time to put his plan into action. Kyuubi looked him straight in the eyes. Her grin seemed to grow ever more. Oh, and what is that? She had an idea of what he wanted, but had to work for it. I want you to promise me that you will never harm the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto spoke with the tone of a true sage. The pair of red eyes flashed as they locked onto the stormy blue eyes of her former jailer. Kyuubi lifted one crimson eyebrow in mock confusion. All was going to plan so far. Isn't my word good enough? She asked, reveling her fangs in the process. Naruto only shook his head. I will need more than your word on this. Naruto confronted her. He was playing right into her bluff. She had him now. Even after they beat you? Even after they shunned you? Left you alone and never gave a damn about you? She probed. She was well aware of what those villagers did to the boy. The years of loneliness, hatred, and pain had taken this boy of a childhood. Now, where did he stand on this topic? She just had to know. Yes. He defiantly snapped back, catching her off guard. They did do that. But, there are people who I'd die for in there. Meanwhile, in the village hidden in the leaves, all right. Your mission is simple. Tsunade's fiery eyes gazed over the ninjas before her. We believe a highly dangerous S-class person has captured Naruto. Your mission: bring him back. Kakashi, Anko, Lee, Guy, Kiba, Hinata, and Shikamaru all nodded in understanding. Only Kakashi, Guy, and Anko knew who they were really going after. Tsunade decided that they only needed to know who, or rather what they were dealing with. There was no need for a full-blown panic. Kiba, Hinata, Lee, and Shikamaru will see to it that Naruto is brought back while Kakashi, Guy, and Anko hold off the S-class assailant. After you have safely evacuated him, you will all meet back up at Waterfall Village. We are not here to take down this criminal, only to rescue Naruto. Is that clear? The Hokage carefully informed them of what needed to be done. If this went smoothly, which she doubted, then they might be able to prevent a disaster on a global scale. Heavens know the last thing she needed was a demon rampaging around. Lady Tsunade. A soft voice asked from the doorway. All heads turned to meet the pink-haired Sakura. Yes? Tsunade asked respectfully, curious of Sakura's actions. I want to go and rescue Naruto too. Sakura blurted out, only to blush as she realized what she had done. I am sorry, Sakura, Tsunade said sadly, but I can't risk. If we are going after an S-class, then, Kiba voiced out loud, we may need a medic. Sakura nodded, quietly thanking him for his help. Akamaru barked in agreement. Tsunade had no choice. She knew how important Naruto was to her. To all of those gathered there. To those who he had helped. The Sannin let out a frustrated sigh. Fine. You leave in the morning. Dismissed, she concluded. Yes. And with that mission, rescue Naruto had begun. Precious people. Kyuubi mumbled to herself. Precious people make you strong. Without them I would be nothing. Because of that, Naruto pumped out his fist towards the demon. I will protect them with my life. Believe it. Kyuubi's eyes grew big after listening to the human. She mused over her precious people. Kyuubi had never had anyone look out for her. Ever. Wherever she had gone, she met only anger and hatred. Not one person had ever stuck out his or her neck for the great Kyuubi. Until Naruto. All right, Kit. Kyuubi whispered while hiding her eyes under her bangs. How about we make a contract? A contract? The Junin asked. He had made a few contracts with the frogs. But with a demon. Even this blockhead knew he had just jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. Kyuubi nodded her head. A contract signed in blood. One that if one was to break, you would die. Thanels for watched.